What up is Marcus? Now, if you have the question of what is this class compared to the 2022 class, the 2023 versus 2022, we're going to be answering some of these questions right now so you have an idea. A very quick summary on is the 2023 class better in certain positions and gives you an idea of what you can compare some of the 2023 players with the 2022 players. Again, if you're new to the channel, we're giving away DeAndre Swift signed jersey hopefully here in the summer when we hit 2K. Now, we're going to start off at quarterbacks, then we're going to go through the positions here, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Why we're going to start off at quarterbacks is because the 2022 class was I think, a outlier of a year for having very, very poor quarterbacks that were eligible for the NFL draft. We look at Kenny Pickett, we look at Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder. They had a lot of mobility with when we talk about Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder, but actual NFL prospect, pretty low. In fact, one of the things I said in last year's video about this time was that the quarterback class was a class that I was almost just going to probably just stay away from. Even in Superflex, I was drafting players in other positions, which was really weird because usually quarterbacks are the priority in Superflex. And I said, wait till the 2023 class because we're going to have some, I would say, decent or close to studs. You're going to have some quarterbacks that are going to be picked in the top 5. I think you might have 4 in the top 10 draft picks when it comes to the NFL draft. And we're just going to go through them real quick. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, they're the 1-2 right now, in my opinion. One out of Ohio State, CJ Stroud, and then Alabama, you got Bryce Young. So both of them good, I think, really good quarterback prospects here. And then you have that second tier right now is Will Levis, which is, rumors are that he might even be a top 3 pick. We'll see if that happens. And then Anthony Richardson. And there might even be another quarterback or two that sneaks into being into that tier. We'll see how the whole draft process comes out. All that we know, especially when you're a person who just kind of watches football, and I'm not an NFL scout. I'm never going to claim to be. I don't get paid millions of dollars to try to figure out who is the right quarterback. But the NFL draft capital for quarterbacks is extremely important. And so that position is almost like settled when we start getting some of these teams and these prospects. Because, I mean, watch Malik Willis. He became a top 10, 15 pick and then just fell down the rankings because teams were actually like, hey, he's got a lot of room to grow. And then Kenny Pickett ended up being the number 1 quarterback in that class. So a lot of things can change, but just know, quarterback, this is the class. This is the class a lot better than the 2023 class. Don't get gun shy because you took Kenny Pickett too early or because you took Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder too early and they didn't perform. This class is a much better class of quarterbacks. Running backs, you're going to have a little bit of the same, and we're going to discuss what's the same. When we talked about last year, Breece Hall was the 1-on-1 in Superflex. Breece Hall was the by far best prospect in general in the class of 2022, in my opinion. And when we look at the 2023, we have a running back that is the exact same. The best prospect in this class by far is Bijan Robinson. I'll probably be talking about him and goo gagaing over him over the next 3-6 months. Like, it's just going to be, he is in a tier by himself. Absolutely home run prospect. I love Bijan Robinson. So you're going to have that's similar in the class. But you had the Kenneth Walker, that was the RB2. You're going to have Jahmyr Gibbs, which I think is even a better prospect than Kenneth Walker or Ken Walker, or whatever he wants to be called now these days. Jahmyr Gibbs is an excellent running back, probably of a more into that Breece Hall tier, maybe a little bit less than Breece Hall. So if I had to rank them, I would be Bijan, Breece, and then I would go Jahmyr Gibbs and Kenneth Walker in that order right now. But Jahmyr Gibbs is an excellent Kamara-like wide receiver type running back, excellent receiver, contact balance. I mean, just watching him, it's going to be very exciting to see where he goes on an NFL team. He's going to be somebody in space. It's going to be very dynamic here. But the big fall off was who's RB3? Is James Cook? And then after James Cook, is it Isaiah Spiller, Zamir White? You had a bunch of these, Dameon Pierce. You had a bunch of these. James Cook was the second round running back, but you had 3rd, 4th, 5th round, a lot of 4th, 5th round running backs that were almost getting pushed up the boards. And I said, hey, let's not push them up the boards across Christian Watson, Chris Olave, and stuff. Like, we want these wide receivers instead. In this case, I could see a plethora of running backs, like 3 through 10, are all excellent, at least on paper and on video running backs. It'll be interesting to see where some of these stocks go, of like a Zach Evans or Chardonnay or, there's the running backs in this class. The depth of these running backs is excellent. So even if you don't have a top 2 pick, a top 3 pick in Superflex, if you don't even have a top 6 pick, you might be able to get a decent running back at 111 and 203 or 110 and 202. Like, this is the class that even if, let's say, they all start getting pushed up, you might even get some excellent wide receivers and some other depth position tight ends and stuff that get pushed down. And I think this class is by far a more depth class like 2020 running backs. And if you remember that class, it was Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, CEH. I think Zach Moss was a part of that. So yeah, you had some running backs that ended up busting out and not being good performers, but you had some pretty good depth through there. 4 or 5 solid, probably 5 solid running backs, at least prospect-wise. And there's even some others that were kind of like trying to sneak into that kind of group. And so I can see a couple of these running backs start to shoot up some of these boards once we get some NFL draft combines going on and we start seeing their 3-cone and we start seeing some of this stuff. I think this running back class, especially when you have a bunch of free agent running backs too, you're going to have a bunch of running backs getting older. The Dalvin Cooks, the Derrick Henrys, the Austin Ecklers, the Alvin Kamaras, like these Joe Mixons, they're all getting older. They're all starting to go across the hill here. And so you're going to have a lot of running backs in good situations or what may look like bad situations but could immediately turn great because some of these running backs are starting to get over the hill. And so I'm going to love a lot of these running backs here, and it's going to be very exciting. So if you're a team that's running back needy, which a lot of them are going to be, this is a really good draft class to kind of fill in some of these gaps because we've had some not great running back classes. We've had some very elite at the top, and then it's just fallen off dramatically. I mean, we've had like 2-3 running backs, and then the rest of the running backs have been just not great. And we've had like the Trey Sermons and the Elijah Mitchells where it's like a little sprinkle of dash of greatness, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Wide receivers. We have, in my opinion, the best wide receiver over the last 2 years, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm going to talk about that in one of the short videos that I'm going to be doing here. In fact, I've already recorded it. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is a wide receiver on Ohio State that was better at a younger age on the same team that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. We've seen their NFL profiles and how they've done their rookie years. Jackson Smith-Njigba is the safest wide receiver, the easiest wide receiver one. Do I have a ginormous gap between him and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave? No, but there is a slight enough gap that I do like him. And really, I see a lot of the 2023 and the 2022 wide receiver class, again, very similar. Because you have some elite wide receivers. Elite meaning you have some receivers that are not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, but they are into that kind of wide receiver 6 to 20. You're going to have the Garrett Wilsons, the Drake Londons, the Treylon Burks, the Chris Olaves, and then even like a Christian Watson sneaking in. Right now you have Jordan Addison. You have Jackson Smith-Njigba. You have Quentin Johnson. You have some different wide receivers that are high level wide receivers, and then you have like a tier of 4 or 5 wide receivers that we like. But one, 2, 3 of those wide receivers will probably get high draft capital, great landing spot, and the other couple will probably be stuck in New England, and they might not get the draft capital that we want. So you're going to see a lot of this maneuvering around of some of these rankings with the second-tier wide receivers, very similar to the 2022 class. And there's going to be some definite steals in there. You might get a Jahan Dotson type wide receiver steal like at end of the first, early second, and that's going to be a really good area to see where those wide receivers come from. And that's why people watch stuff now, and they're going to watch stuff in 2 months, these videos. And so tight ends is a completely different landscape than last year. This year, you're going to have Michael Mayer be a really good tight end, like a Pat Freiermuth type tight end. And we need that. We need some more tight ends in this league. Jeez. Really, there's Dalton Kincaid that is also I think there's definitely a tier break. There's a couple of other okay tight ends, but really you're looking at Michael Mayer being a potential top 15 pick, potentially even top 12 if he lands in a really good spot. I've seen him already mocked at Cincinnati. I've seen him mocked in a couple other situations that I go, ooh, I kind of like that as well. So Michael Mayer is definitely a prospect to be looking at in the top 15 here because we haven't really had a tight end come in the league. Really, even Kyle Pitts, generational talent. Pat Freiermuth has had his time, but really the tight end landscape has been Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, and Hawkinson's coming sneaking into that, whether he was with the Lion and now transferring to the Minnesota Vikings. And so that's been it. I mean, there's been nothing else. No one's been sneaking into that. I mean, it's not like I don't trust in Kyle Pitts. It's just like We need some more tight ends into that second tier, that Dalton Schultz tier, that Dawson Knox towards the end of the tier. We need some more tight ends that are going to be used in some of these high-powered offenses, so it'd be very interesting to see where Michael Mayer goes, all right? So I hope this gave you some insight onto the 2023 draft class. We're going to be doing some more videos, some more shorts, everything like that, so you guys can keep up to date and just conquer your drafts. All right, peace out, take care. We'll see you in a couple days.